Hi there, Henry from 911 Virgin, Porsche people in Uxbridge. Welcome to another video. As you know, we tend to make videos based on stock that we've got coming through that we're selling. And so one of the prime cars in Porsche's lineup is the GT3. So how could we not make a video when we had a lovely, and I do mean lovely, GT3 997 GT3 Clubsport. It's beautiful. But how could I then not make a video when not only have we got a GT3 Clubsport, but we've also got a GT3 RS. To give it its full name, a 997.2 GT3 3.8. I'll get to the 3.8 in a minute. And yet it gets better still, people. We also have a 997 GT3 Cup car. So we have three 997 GT3s, and that surely is a video. So the GT3, what's it all about? Essentially, the Porsche GT3 kind of starts with this. Porsche very, very unusual as a mainstream manufacturer in that they produce a factory race car which you can buy as a customer. So most people who go racing take a road car, put it in a garage, do loads of modifications to it and turn it into a race car. Porsche produce it themselves. So you have a series of racing actually started off with the 964, which was Porsche Cup, and then went into the 996. We have made a video of the 996 GT3s and GT3 Cup cars. They then went to the 997, which is this era of car. The GT3 has a championship in various countries. They also have the Super Cup, which follows the Formula One circuit and so races alongside Formula One. And then you have various derivations of the GT3 which will go for often longer races against other marques, so Ferrari, potentially BMW, Mercedes, even kind of Moslers and various things, and Bentleys would be another one. And so you can go to your local Porsche main dealer and say, hello, could I please have a it's a Cup car you want to ask for. Can I have please a GT3 Cup car? And they will provide you with a car. It's not road legal. It will never be road legal. It's never intended to be road legal. However, it is race ready. So it comes with a number of features which you wouldn't necessarily get on a road car. It's got a towing eye in the front there. It's obviously rather low, so you're going to struggle with speed humps and things. It's looking for the ground effect the front splitter gives you. If you look in the front here, you have a fairly kind of open basic bonnet. You've got on this particular car, you've got electronic steering module here. You've also got these funny rams which sit in here and they are fed from an air lance on here, and you've got three rams, one in the front bonnet and then one in each of the corners of the tub, which lifts the car up and allows you to do very quick wheel changes for pit stops. So you have that. You've also got an inbuilt fire extinguisher, you've got a battery cut-off switch, the wheels themselves, you have centre lock wheels. Ignore these funny Bodicea type things. These are tie down straps to strap the car down when you're transporting it. So single gun on there and then comes off, chuck a wheel on, straight back on, you get out nice and quickly. The doors are lightweight carbon fibre, windows are plexiglass. You have a phenomenal roll cage in here, which is a lovely safety cage which is fully welded into the car. That's your fire extinguisher system. This particular car has a sequential gearbox. When the 997 GT3 Cup car came out, I'm going to have to hold this. In fact, we'll swap round, Matt. There you go. I'll hold the door open for you. So when these came out, you had a sequential gearbox. which is kind of free speed really. When you change gear on a normal H-pattern gearbox, put your foot on the clutch, change gear, release the clutch, you lose a bit of speed. When you look at the data trace, it's like a sawtooth, and so you kind of go quickly, drops off a bit, and then you accelerate away. Sequential gearbox, basically foot flat down, just pull it through and it changes up through the gears. Nice flat graph, it's free time. So they put that in. You have no passenger seat, you have a single driver's seat, kind of Nomex and carbon driver's seat there. Obviously the dashboard is missing quite a few of its component parts because it's a race car. You have no carpet, no trim, yeah, so it's a pure race car. The brakes on this car, incidentally, were not ABS. You have brake bias adjuster on the 997 Cup cars when they came out. Gotta say, subsequently, you would probably think about retrospectively fitting ABS brakes, depending on the championship you're going to race in these days. But we'll get to that in a minute. You have a rather large rear spoiler, which helps downforce and pushes the car down. Windows in here as well, plexiglass. You'll notice that there's holes in there, so if it rains it's going to let water in, but the idea is you're kind of going along anyway, so not much goes in there, but you're racing, so that's what happens. Inside there you have a 3.8 litre engine. It's a beautiful engine. The GT3s all share the Metzger engines, which are, it's a legendary engine within the Porsche lineup, and so they are phenomenal. We covered that particular engine in our 996 GT3 and GT3 Cup car video, so have a look at that and that'll explain all about the specifics of the engine. The engine lid, carbon fibre again, so it's weight saving and so on and so forth. So this is a GT3 Cup car, pure race car, and it is, as I say, unusual in that you can go buy it from a Porsche main dealer and Porsche produce them. So brings us on to this car. This is a 997.2, so the second generation GT3 RS. This car was built to homologate this car. You have to build so many road cars to be able to then go racing in them, and so the relationship between the RS and this car is quite close. You'll find it shares some of the suspension components, lower arms you can adjust, so you've got more variance on your suspension in terms of the suspension setup. They're actually a wider car as well, so the RS is built on a C4 body shell. You have the roll cage in there, or you've got a half cage in the car, which adds stiffening and sort of bracing to the car. Actually, we'll open this door, we'll go in on the driver's side on this one. But in terms of its intended use, this is a proper road going car. If we have a look inside, you will see it's actually got an interior in this particular car. Again, if you look, you'll see we've got, so this has got a kind of Nomex and carbon fibre seat, so it hugs you. It's kind of motorsport type seat. You've got some Alcantara, but you've got a full dash in there. This particular car has a PCM infotainment system in there, and you've got air conditioning, and so this is a fully road legal, road usable car, whereas the Cup cars, the race cars, you couldn't use them on the road. The Cup car doesn't have a handbrake in it, for instance. It doesn't have cooling. You've got to be rolling along in the Cup car for it to have cooling, so if you're sat in traffic it's going to overheat, whereas the RS is a fully road legal car. And here we have the, I guess you would say, standard, dare I say vanilla version of a 997 GT3. This is a lovely GT3 Clubsport. To call it a standard or a vanilla version is something of an insult. It's a little bit like saying Mike Tyson is a vanilla version of a boxer compared to Muhammad Ali, or vice versa. Either of them will give you a fairly hefty whack and you will end up on the deck, so you would just do as they asked politely, you wouldn't argue with them. This is, as a standard car, it's a superb car. It's a very driver focused car. You know, you've got very direct steering, you've got very direct suspension on it, and it is, again, if you look inside it, we have this particular car. Again, it's got kind of Nomex and carbon fibre interior. It's got the Alcantara in there, and you know, this is not a kind of a normal sports car. It's a sports car kind of on steroids. It's like a really sharp scalpel still, and so, you know, it's still based on the DNA of the GT3 Cup car, but it is, I guess you would say, kind of road focused. But to be fair, the RS is a road focused car. The whole idea with the RS is that you would drive to a track day, you would do the track day, and then you would drive home. And the irony is that although the RS is theoretically a bit more hardcore than the standard Clubsport, in terms of a drive, it's almost a little bit more compliant than a standard GT3. And you have, because of the ability to kind of fine-tune the suspension, you can kind of tweak it to your preferences. The other thing about the RS is it has lower gearing. So I think in second gear you would go up to about 75 miles an hour in this, whereas this will take you to 85 miles an hour. So actually on the road, you almost feel that this is kind of more engaging to drive, because it's got that lower gear. You're using the revs in a slightly more compact manner, and so it kind of hustles you along a bit. At high speed, you get twice the downforce in an RS compared to a standard GT3. I think I'm going to say at like 180 miles an hour, you get about 175 kilos of downforce. So it's me and another fairly substantial guy just sitting on your roof, helping push the car into the road. As I said, the wider track gives it slightly better coring ability as well. And so, you know, this is a very desirable car. Porsche also, in the 997.2 platform, produced a 4-litre version of this. This is a 3.8 litre, 444 horsepower, I think, from memory. They also did a 4-litre version of the RS as well, just after this, and that is an eminently collectible car. So, you know, this is very special. So this car we've actually just sold. This has just come into stock. The Cupcar isn't advertised. But it was really unusual to have all three cars in stock at the same time. And it gives you quite an interesting dilemma, because this car, at the time of filming, it's about £140,000. This car, it's a bit over £200,000, £215,000, this particular car. And so you're paying quite a big premium for the RS version over a standard car. There's lots of people debating, is it worth spending the money, isn't it worth spending the money? In a lot of instances, you know, it simply takes it out of budget, so you can't spend the money. But there's a really interesting thing developing at the moment. So, you know, this particular car, it's a sub 10,000 mile car, and these are eminently collectible. They hold their money extremely well and potentially go up in value, and you're almost afraid to use them for the purpose intended. You know, the idea of this, the RS came out on the 996 GT3 Cup cars, and back in the day, you know, you would see people taking their 996 GT3 RS, they'd drive it to a track day, blat it round the track day. You'd always see them. They came in sort of two, they're always white, but with two coloured, you could either have blue or red decals on them. And on every track day, you'd always see usually 2 or 3 996 GT3 RSs blasting around on a track day. But I think with these cars, the GT3s, the modern GT3s, because they're becoming collectible, you almost daren't use them as intended to do your track days, which means that the Cup car all of a sudden is quite an interesting car. So this was built as a pure race car, and if you're racing it in the Porsche Carrera Cup, you want the latest version. You know, you wouldn't race a 997 GT3 Cup car in the current Carrera Cup. You'd be massively outgunned. So you almost think, well, what use has something like this, you know, as a used vehicle? You can still race them in a number of different championships, particularly a lot of the multi-mark championships where you're going up against other manufacturers, and these are still a really competitive car. But they're also quite an appealing car for someone who wants to do track days and likes the thought of a GT3, but doesn't dare buy a road version, use it, and then damage it. You may even find somebody who buys this car, the GT3 RS road car, has this and also has one of these. And so you can imagine he gets this taken to the circuit. He's probably got a Porsche specialist who will look after it for him, do preparation, and potentially even send a guy to the circuit with him. They may tow it to the circuit for him. He rocks up in his GT3 RS through the roads, and he then hops in this to do the angry work round the circuit. And you're not precious about it. It's a race car. You know, if you have an off and it needs painting, it's a race car. It's what they're on the planet for. If you get a stone chip or a mark on it, it's a race car. If you need to change something, it's a race car. You know, no one looks at these and says, oh, hang on a minute, is this the original paint? Or even, you know, is it the original wing or bumper? Or, you know, ultimately, you don't want something that's been, you know, squashed up into a crisp packet and opened up again. But so long as it's a good solid car, it's not the end of the world if you do work to them. And indeed, that's the whole idea. You know, you change components as you use it. So these are really kind of quite an interesting car, really. You know, I have a 997 of this version, and then also the 996, the previous one, which I did a lot of racing in. And it's interesting, you know, that they still, they're still my favourite cars, because I'm not afraid to kind of get in it and use it and kind of have some fun. But these are, I guess, an example of what Porsche are capable of producing in its kind of finest road-going version. And you can, of course, you know, you couldn't take this on a drive through Europe or off to the Cotswolds for the weekend, whereas either of these two, you absolutely can. And again, unlike a lot of the speciality cars which you see manufacturers producing, you know, if you look in the front of this car, you know, you often open up the storage places and you have nothing. I think we decided last time out that this is the fruit, isn't it? The front boot. Yes, it's not a frunk, it's a fruit. You know, you've got a bit of stuff in there, but you can see you've got storage in there. You've got a bit of space behind the front seats, although there's a roll cage in there, which is slightly hard to squish stuff into. But you know, you can actually rock up in this and drive it, use it on the road, and sort of have some fun without having to take the car on the track. And again, I think Porsche are with a car like this, they kind of give you more than you need, really, certainly for road use, in terms of you know, will you ever get the full use out of it? We did a very quick video on a 991 GT3 RS which we sold, and you know, as I was kind of saying there, very few owners will ever really get the full benefit out of that car for two reasons, well, three reasons, I guess. Firstly, because they're not good enough drivers. Secondly, because they're never going to put the thing on the track. And thirdly, because they're too afraid that if they pushed it to the limit where they're testing all those components, there's a high risk they have a little off and it devalues the car too much, which again is where the Cup cars come in as an interesting option. But yeah, I mean, I just, it's a quick video. As I say, it's really unusual, well, to have kind of any of these, you know, that there's not many GT3 RSs about, there's not many really GT3s about, and you know, you don't often get to see a factory Cup car. So to have all three here at the same time, you know, it was a video that we kind of couldn't make really. As I always say at this point, you know, if you're thinking of selling a nice Porsche, please get in touch with us. You know, we'll buy outright or we'll sell on your behalf, and so, you know, you can use our platform to ensure that your car achieves its full retail value. We stand to the car after it's sold, even on sale return cars, so, you know, we'll get full retail price for the car. So please, if you've got something that's really lovely for sale, you know, we deal with all Porsches really, from the 1970s through to pretty much current day, and certainly the speciality cars, the GT3s. We have, I don't know if you can see it in the distance there, there's a little Cayman GT4, so GT3s, GT4s, you know, any of the GT ranges, love them, but we also like normal road cars as well. So please, if you've got anything that you're thinking of selling, do get in touch, and as I say, we'll buy outright or we'll sell on your behalf. In the meantime, if you do own a Porsche, please make sure you get out and drive it. If you own something like this, for goodness sake, in this weather, get out, enjoy it. I know we've just had Goodwood Festival of Speed, we've had Le Mans, so a lot of you guys will have taken your cars off to those. I know there was a good showing at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, specialty Porsche parking area. Obviously Porsche have a good presence at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, so I'm sure a lot of you found your way down to there, and I hope you enjoyed yourselves. The weather was pretty nice, as indeed it was at Le Mans as well this year, so it stayed dry, which was good. Yeah, in the meantime, have fun, look after yourselves. I'm Henry, we're 911 Virgin, the Porsche people in Uxbridge. Thanks for watching, goodbye.